Hey guys, and welcome to part 2 of this Xcode Swift tutorial where we're going to create a walkthrough welcome screen flow for your iPhone application. In part 1, we created the walkthrough using the storyboard. So we tap and show walkthrough, it takes you to the main walkthrough page, and you can have our page 1, page 2, and page 3 pages here. Today we're going to speak about how to hook up the remaining buttons so we can close the walkthrough once we're done looking at it, or better known as skipping the walkthrough. The user can go to a sign up page or go to a login page. Currently these buttons don't do anything, and that's going to be our focus for today. So let's get to that right now. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is hook up the close button. And I changed the color of these icons since the last time I did the video just because it didn't show very well on the page background. So let me just make them black again so you can see, and hopefully they look a bit better in the simulator. So, okay. That might be better. Let's just give them black backgrounds with white text for now. It looks terrible. No, let's not do that actually. I don't like that at all. So sign up will be black. Okay, so what's nice about the BW walkthrough controller which we've used to create the walkthrough is that he's already added functionality for the close buttons. We just need to hook it up to the view controller. So let's open up the assistant editor. On the right hand side here, make sure you're in the BW walkthrough view controller Swift file. Once you're in here, you'll see that he's already created a couple of IB outlets. One for page control, one for next button, previous button, and a close button. So what we're going to do here, as you can see that there's little circles next to each variable, outlet variable, and they're empty. And this normally means that you've created an outlet, but there's no connection to anything on the storyboard. So we're going to click into the close button circle and drag it towards the close button we created on the storyboard and let go. Now the little circle is filled, and if you hover over it, you see that it's associated now to our close button. That's step 1. Step 2 is to now scroll down, and you'll see also in the BW walkthrough view controller, there's actually a close function as well, an IB action over here. So this one here has a connection, it says, but it's actually not hooked up correctly. So when you associate the IB outlets, as we did just now, it associates the IB action, but it doesn't connect it to the close button. The connection's broken for some reason. So what we're going to do is just go and do the same thing, associate the IB action back to our close button. And now if you hover over the IB action, you see the close button is also, it glows. What I like to do, again, as I mentioned last time, is actually add a print line into our IB actions and actually just mention what it is that we're calling, the function we're calling. So I added a print line here, I called it close, just the name of the function. So if we run the simulator now, and we present the walkthrough, now if we click the close button, I should now see close appear in the console. And there you go. And that's a fuck up. So there you see that every time I click on the close button, the close message appears on the bottom of the console. So that's good. That means we're reaching this function and we're hitting the close. So now there's another command here where we say delegate question mark walkthrough close button pressed. Now it's calling this function, but it's not doing anything yet. And the reason why it's not doing anything is because we need to now link this back to our main view controller. So remember, our main view controller was where we presented the walkthrough view controller. Now we want to send a message back to the view controller to dismiss the view controller, the walkthrough view controller. So we're going to do that right now. Let's go to our view controller, our main view controller. So let's go over here, view controller.swift. Now, because we added the BW walkthrough view controller delegates, we have access to the functions we saw in that view controller. So if we just type in walkthrough view controller, walkthrough, you'll see that a couple options have popped up, and the one we want is the walkthrough close button pressed. Alright, so we have our action now, and now we need to add the code. So the code we need now to add is the following: self dot dismiss view controller animated, and we're going to say true, and we're going to say null. And again, I just always like to have a print line just to show that we've reached this piece of code, and I'm going to add in the function name into the print line. So now we're going to, clicking on the close button will take us to the walkthrough close button pressed on our main view controller. It's going to print a line walkthrough close button pressed, and it's going to dismiss the view controller that it presented originally, and it's going to animate it true. And then this bit here, you can just put null, and then the view controller will disappear. So if we demonstrate that now, we show, which then presents the walkthrough view controller, and then we can click on close, and it dismisses the view controller. So in the console here, you can see that we reached the close print line in the BW walkthrough view controller, which then took us to our main view controller, and it reached this piece of line over here, this function over here, and that dismisses the view controller. So that's how you do that. And to make things a little bit more clearer, you could call this skip. So basically, if you want to skip the view controller or whatever, or if you don't want the user to move away from this walkthrough page or welcome screen, you want them to sign up or log in, you can actually just completely leave out the skip or the close function completely from this walkthrough view controller. So next thing we're going to do is add in the sign up and login pages. So to do that, we need to add 2 new view controllers. So this is look for view controller. Add one over here. Another one over here. Okay. What I'm going to do now is add a navigation bar to each of these guys. Put the title here, login, title here, sign up. Okay, so now we need to add a bar button item to the sign up view controller screen, call it back, and do the same for the login view controller, call it back. Alright, so now before we move on from here, we just want to add the constraints to these view controllers. So let's minimize the side panel, bring out the show document outline, and let's take the navigation bar for the sign up view controller. So to add the constraints to the navigation bar, we want to make it leading space, trailing, top, and horizontally centered. And then do the same for the login navigation bar, trailing, leading, top, and horizontally. Okay, cool. So the final thing we need to do now is to get the buttons to link to these view controllers here. So the way that we're going to do that is very similar to how we created the view controller to pop up when you tapped on the show walkthrough button. We're going to assign these view controllers their own classes and then instantiate the view controller when we tap on the sign up button the same way we instantiated the walkthrough view controller when we tapped the show walkthrough button. So let's create two new classes for our project, one for the sign up and one for the login. So let's right click on the walkthrough project, go new file. We're going to create a new Cocoa Touch class and then call the one sign up view controller, create, and then on the one called login view controller. And make sure that the subclass of UI view controller and we're using the language Swift. Should be like that by default. Okay, so we now create these two new view controller classes. Now, before we can actually start using them, connect them to buttons, we need to create delegates for each of these classes. So just follow along with what I'm doing. I'm going to create, in the sign up view controller, Swift class, I'm going to create a new Objective-C protocol called sign up view controller delegates. Open and close some brackets, and then I'm going to create a new variable for this class called delegates, and that'll be of type sign up view controller delegate, and it'll be an optional. So the question mark we added just means that it's an optional value. Okay, so we want to do the same now for the login view controller. Let's create a new Objective-C protocol and call it login view controller delegates, open and close brackets, and then create a new variable in the class called delegates of login view controller delegates and make it an optional value. Okay, so now we want to go back to our storyboard, and on these view controllers, the sign up view controller, we want to now assign it the sign up view controller class. So make sure that it's connected to the sign up view controller class, and then the same for the login view controller. Make sure that the class is of login view controller. You also want to now, while you're doing this, make sure that the storyboard ID for the login view controller is called login, and the storyboard ID for sign up view controller is called sign up. That's going to be important because, again, like we did for the walkthrough, is that we want to identify what this view controller is so we can present it. So now that we've done that, we've given it an ID, we've given it the classes, we want to now link the sign up button to present the sign up view controller and the login button to present the login view controller. So let's go to our walkthrough view controller, which is this main view controller class over here. Let's go into it, and then let's open up our assistant editor, and then let's work with the main storyboard and the BW walkthrough view controller file on the right hand side. So now what we want to do is create two new IB actions, one for the sign up button, one for the login button. So we right click on sign up, we drag it into the bottom of our BW walkthrough class. It'll be an action connection, and we can call it sign up button pressed. And we don't need to give it any arguments, so we can go none, and we go connect. We do the same thing for login. Right click, drag, of type action, and call it login button pressed. No arguments, click connect. As a good practice, I always like to add a print line statement into each function I create so that when it's called, I can see in the console that it's called. Because often or not, you will create a function and for some reason or another, it's not hooked up correctly and you don't know why, and you spend hours wondering why it's not working, and then you find out that it's actually not connected. And this is a good way just to see that this function gets called will show up in your console output. Okay, so now that we have our two action functions for each button, we need to add the code in now to present the view controller for each. So what I'm going to do now is just to move this code into the main view. So I'm going to take away this as an editor and then go to the walkthrough view controller class, go to the bottom, and let's add some code. So it's the same concept. We're going to add a new variable called stb. This will be of UI storyboard, and we're going to identify it with the name of main, because that's the name of our main storyboard, and pass through nil as the bundle. Then we're going to create a new view controller variable called signup, and this will be a view controller in the main storyboard with the ID of signup. Then we want to set the delegate of signup to be of itself. And then finally, we want to present the view controller. So we go self, present view controller of signup. We want to animate it up, so we go true, and we can pass a null for the completion. Okay, so same concept as before. Alright, so I forgot that we need to also declare this as type signup view controller. And that should get rid of any errors you have. Cool, so we create a variable called stb, which will be the storyboard, main storyboard, and then we're going to create a new instance of a view controller of the main storyboard with the ID of signup, and it'll be of a signup view controller type. We're going to set the delegates of the signup to itself, and you can present the signup view controller. So the same thing we can do for the login. We can actually copy and paste this code, put it in here. Instead of sign up, we call it login, and then we pass in the ID of the login view controller, and we just call it of the login view controller type. Login, and the login view controller we're going to animate up. Cool, so now if we run this right now, you'll see now that we can show the walkthrough view controller. So we actually, remember, we're instantiating the walkthrough view controller, adding the pages, and then displaying it. Then clicking on skip closes the view controller, dismisses it. And the same thing will be for the sign up. We tap the sign up button, it will instantiate the sign up view controller, and then we'll add the option to, when you click back, to dismiss it again. So let's add that function now to our project. So let's go to our sign up view controller. And now in the protocol for sign up view controller, we need to add the function to close the sign up view controller or to dismiss it. So the way we do that, and we took this for granted in the walkthrough view controller because it's done for us, but we need to add a function for our delegates. So we call it optional function sign up back button pressed. Okay, we can do this for the login view controller too. So let's go into the login view controller. Login back button pressed, and that's that. So now that we've done that, we can then open up our storyboard again. Let me just open up the assistant editor because we're going to have to connect the button to our code now. So let's just bring up the main storyboard here. Alright. Now, since we're in the login, okay, well, let's get to So let's make sure that we're in the login view controller file, and we're going to connect the back button to our class. Let's put it over here. Remember, it will be a type action because it's a button. And we're going to say, call it login back button pressed of type UI bar button, connect it. And then again, remember, we just want to add a print line and say that the login back button was pressed. And we want to now pass this through the delegates. Login back button pressed. Okay, so the same thing we want to do to the sign up view controller. We want to take the back button, drag it into the class, type action, and call sign up back button pressed of UI bar button, connect it. We want to print a line when it gets tapped. And then call the delegate on itself. So now we've added the back button IBA action to our sign up view controller class, but now we want to, because remember that we present the view controller from the walkthrough view controller. So we need to go back to the walkthrough view controller. And then from here, we need to call on the sign up view controller back button pressed and dismiss view controller true. And null. And the same for the login back button pressed, dismiss view controller true, and null. Alright, so remember, when we tap the sign up button, we present the view controller of the view controller sign up, and then from the sign up view controller, we tap the back button, we then call the function back here to dismiss the view controller. And then the same thing for the login view. When we tap the login button on the BW walkthrough view controller, this button over here, we then call this function where it presents the view controller login, and then in the view controller of the login, when we tap the back button, we then dismiss the view controller. So that's kind of how the flow works. We present in a view controller another view controller, then we tap the back button or a cancel button, we can then pass a message back to the view controller came from to dismiss the view controller that it presented. That's kind of how view controllers appear and get dismissed. Kind of like a stack of view controllers which you pop up and then dismiss again afterwards. So now that we have that in place, if we now run our project in the simulator, so when you show the walkthrough view controller, we're presenting the walkthrough view controller. When you click the sign up, we're presenting the sign up view controller. We tap back, we're dismissing the view controller, and then for login, we're presenting the login view controller, which doesn't work because you can see this is a good example that I'm not seeing my print line function here. So I'm expecting to tap this and then see this in the console, but it's not appearing. So let's try to find out why quickly. So if I hover over this, I see it's not connected correctly. So let me just reconnect this to that. Okay, so let's try that again. So that's a very good example why I like to have these print line statements here, because I was pressing the login button, I was expecting it to call this function, and nothing was happening. And I could tell straight away that this wasn't even reaching. This wasn't even printing the statement here, so it wasn't even getting to the function. So let's have a look now if we fixed it. And there you go. See, we see the login button pressed, command line, which we print from that. So that's a very good example why it's good to have these. Very quick bug, which we fixed pretty quickly because we knew what the problem was. So we present the login view and we dismiss the login view. So there you go. So in this part 2 of the video series, we created a walkthrough view controller. We've created a sign up page as well as a login page, and you can go ahead and add text fields and labels into the sign up page and text fields and labels into the login page. In the next video, I'll show you how to actually sign up a user using the Parse platform and how to log in a user using his already saved credentials. But for today, I think we covered quite a bit, and then next time we're going to tie everything up and make a working walkthrough projects with a user database, etc. So thanks for watching. Any comments, please leave them below. This was quite a complicated video because we spoke about creating delegates and creating functions that pass back and forth. So I hope that take some time, go through what I did now, play around a bit in your own project, and kind of just get a feel how the flow works. I'll try my best to try and explain it as best I could, but I don't want to take this video to be too long. So I do apologize if it did seem rushed, but please, if you have any questions, ask them. I can try and answer them or address them in a different video. Any common problems that you may be facing. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.